Normies rarely ever argue in good faith, and most of the time they're looking to get you in a gotcha. That's the topic of today's video, and it's something I've known for a while, but there's something that happened recently, a story I'm going to share that really brought this topic, I guess, to mind and made me want to make a video about it. What happened pretty perfectly exemplified the normie way of thinking, where, they're not really after truth and overall they're clueless. They don't really even know what they're saying, but they're trying really hard to look smart, and they're going to cling onto anything they can get to try and make you look stupid. And the end goal of the normie is sort of to try and stamp down their moral authority or superiority over any other person, right? It's about showing that, hey, I am very, very smart and you are very, very stupid. Anyways, let me get onto the story and it'll probably make a bit more sense. So this story involves a girl I know who is sort of like a distant relative. I wouldn't really call her a cousin, but it's not really like my own friend either. Like more of a family friend. Anyways, even that's not really important. But, where I live, last year in 2025, we had a election, and at the time I was a lot more into politics than I am now, and I believed in politics a lot more than I do now. So I would talk about it a little bit, and I was sort of more on I was on the side of the conservative side of the spectrum. I've always been, or at least since I've been at least a little bit older and smarter, I've always been a little bit more right wing. And this girl was just a typical like liberal girl, on left wing of the political spectrum, all of the modern day feminist, all of that BS propaganda programming, all of that is instilled in her. So like, it was just something, it had come up a few times, and her brother was also like sort of more on the conservative side, but she was liberal. So we were just like talking about this kind of stuff. We were talking about why we support the conservative guy, and she was talking about why she supports the liberal guy. And I guess, a month or so after that discussion, whatever happened, the election actually happened, and my guy, the conservative guy, lost, which is not really that surprising because in much of the world, all this liberal bullshit is winning. Not that the conservative stuff is much better, but anyways, that's what happened then. So my guy, so to speak, lost, and now coming to the present day, and the story of what like really actually happened was that a few days ago I was on Instagram, and I just happened to come across this Instagram reel, which was about my guy, right? Supposedly my guy, the guy I supported, and it was basically him more or less brown nosing to a certain I guess ethnic, religious group, country, so to speak. I'm not gonna, again, even the specifics don't even matter, but basically he's sucking up to a certain demographic, and the thing was sort of captioned like, oh, like bro really thought this would get him elected, right? And I just happened to send that in our group chat because I thought it was kind of funny, but also like I thought it was pretty I guess true, and also just not eye-opening because I already have my eyes open to these things, but maybe to another person it would be eye-opening to see how politicians brown nose for a certain country in the Middle East. Anyway, so I send that, and then I'm not on Instagram much anyways, so the next day or the day after, when I happen to go back on Instagram again, I go into the it's like a group chat. Like I didn't send it directly to her, but she's part of the group chat, and I just see she replies something like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, oh, wasn't this weren't you a supporter of this guy? Oh, how the tables turn. So basically that should basically bring things full circle. That's what I'm trying to talk about, where she was just looking for this gotcha moment, and she said this, and she thinks that she got some kind of gotcha moment over me. And again, not that I care about her opinion. I know she's a stupid liberal whatever girl who's gonna probably regret her choices in 10, 15, 20 years. What I do care about, or what I did take note of, is, again, just this normie way of thinking. And let's just break down exactly what she's trying to say, because it's just so stupid, and it really just shows that normies cannot really understand any nuance, and they don't argue in good faith at all. So the fact that I supported this guy, or I was more on the side of this guy a year ago, to her, that thinks that I basically worship this guy, that I have to agree with every single thing he says, and that I can't be, or I can't disagree with or be against him on certain things. She also doesn't understand that, for example, a year ago, I can think that, quote unquote, her guy is bad and quote unquote my guy is good, but still understand that, her guy could have certain points that are good and that my guy could have certain points that are bad. And the thing is, like, I know she's not that stupid. If we were to take the same sort of scenario to something else where I can like something overall but still disagree with one or two little things about it, she would understand. But because this is a topic that's sort of like, it's sort of seen as like an intellectual topic, it's political, it involves the much of the modern day propaganda and programming and stuff, that's when the normie programming really has to come out, and one has to basically come out and say dumb stuff like this, because it's not just about, it's hard to word this, but it's more about, it's almost like a personal thing. Again, like I said earlier in the video, it's wanting to stamp down your authority as an intellectual, as someone who's smarter, and paint the other person as someone who is less than, someone who's dumb. And I guess one of the funnier things to me is that, again, she really just thinks that she got me. It's a gotcha moment, right? Oh, look at how the tables turn. Like, she really, probably after hitting send on that message, she was like, man, well, this guy's such an idiot. But in reality, like, she's the idiot. And I think most people would be able to see that, because, again, it's just, I have nuance, and I never said that I worship this guy, but she just needs to cling on to anything she can get to try and make herself seem smarter and make me seem stupid. And I'm sharing this single one story, but stuff like this is, like, I've seen this a lot in my life, and I think, if you're watching this video, you can probably relate, and you've probably had this happen to you as well, especially if you're at least just a little bit awake. People will start to try and rebut some of the things you're saying, but they don't even know much about the topic. But again, they're gonna cling on to anything they can in bad faith. They're gonna misrepresent your argument. They're gonna attack strawmans. They're gonna do all of this other BS to try and get a gotcha over you, to try and make you look stupid. And it's exhausting in a sense where it's like, I don't even want to, like, for example, this girl's message, I didn't reply anything. I was just like, let her think she's the smartest girl in the world. Who gives a shit? But even beyond it just being exhausting in that sense, it's kind of like demoralizing in a way where it's just like, man, are people really this stupid? And yeah, I guess the answer is pretty much always yes, people really are that stupid. And because normies are so stupid and they think this way, I've developed my own thinking to the point where I don't even try and sort of wake people up anymore or go out of my way to like share this knowledge anymore. There was definitely a time where I would try and share like as much as I can to people and try and like convince people in a way. But I don't try that anymore at all. It's just like, you're not gonna get to someone who has themselves turned their brain off. There are certain people who are just, it doesn't matter how, like, what you show them, how much evidence you can present to them, how much the evidence could just be slapping them in the face. They are not going to wake up. They're not, like, they're essentially deaf and dumb and blind. So there's really just no point in, I guess, really trying to persuade them or push them or convince them or whatever. Just, you do you. If you know what the truth is, you continue to do that and let all of the normies and the idiots and the NPCs and whatever amuse themselves and think in their head that they're the smartest people alive. But yeah, anyways, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.